welcome. It's Patches the Dread. It's Patches the Dread. Listen, I'm the author and finisher of Living Testimony. I've been working on trying to do a live. I've been attempting to do this. Wasn't able to do it in my podcast setup with the microphone, but so I'm doing it here, and hopefully you can feel me. So I want to talk to you real quick. I know that most folks wait 2 minutes, 3 minutes for folks to come on in. I don't expect a bunch of folks. So if you come in, welcome. If you don't come in, I'm going to get you in the future, I promise. Right now, I am not hooked up to anything where I can see your chats because I'm doing this on my phone. So if you are chatting at me, I'm not going to know it, but I will respond later once I download the live. So we've been having a lot going on, a whole lot going on, right? No Diddy, right? What was his name? Playboy Carter with the thong. Just a lot of things in the news cycle. Not a lot of positive things. LSU lost yesterday. Angel Reese hurt her ankle. And I can go on and on with the bad things. Diddy. I'm gonna touch on that real quick, and then I'll back up off of it and leave it alone, because to me, there is one true result that kind of led him down this path, right? So there is a thing called, spiritual wickedness. We talk about spiritual wickedness in high places, In other words, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. That's scripture. That's just Bible. Not going to go into that. But Charleston White spoke on it best, man. And so I got to give him his credit, because every now and then I've been somewhat critical with his delivery, his method. But man, the scripture says, how can they hear without a preacher? And how can he preach lest he be sent? I do believe that sometimes we become so cowardly, that it takes the Lord getting a person like a Charleston White, or you name it, to get people's attention. Not saying that anything he said is holy, but you just pay attention to me. He is holding a mirror up to us, up to himself, up to this culture, right? Damian Dash likes to talk about culture vultures. He's holding a mirror up. He's saying, hey, folks from the 90s, folks from the 80s, folks from the 70s, this is what you created, and let me show you how it plays out. And I think that's working for him in the juvenile system. I think that's working for him on his platforms. So for that, I'm going to take a little snippet of what he said, and I'm going to try to break it down real quickly before I move on. P Diddy. No Diddy. Did he do it? There's an environment that has to be created, fostered, for certain behaviors to show. I'm going to say that again. There's an environment that has to be created and fostered for certain type of elements to grow. I'm going to give you an example. You see me in my Dallas. I rep that Dallas, that Oak Cliff. But a couple of years ago, I moved out in Frisco, had a house in Frisco, and in the backyard, my old lady and I, man, we wanted a garden. So we did that, right? And we started simple because I'm a city boy. So we did tomatoes. We did bell peppers. We did jalapenos, and we did those little bit of cherry tomatoes. But this is the interesting part, so follow me. We initiated it by going to the store, just a regular grocery store, didn't have to go to Home Depot, and getting some tomato seed, bell pepper seed, seeds for all of those, jalapeno seeds, cherry tomato seeds, and buying some soil, right? Buying some soil to make sure that there's some nurturing going on. And we had the little pots, because we didn't put it in the yard, we put it in pots. And we filled it full of soil and part dirt and part whatever. My wife did that part. And there's this little stuff that you can buy called Miracle Magic or something like that, or Miracle Grow. I don't remember. But we did all of that. We planted the seeds, we watered them, and then we allowed the sun to do what it was going to do. So in some circles, my AC coming on, so this might throw my voice out. But in some circles, this is called sowing, right? So when you hear that phrase from the Bible, you reap what you sow. You know, a lot of folks don't understand what that stuff means. It's like speaking Greek. You reap what you sow. We sow tomato seeds. That's what we put into the ground, right? And our expectation was that we would reap tomatoes. In other words, we put down tomato seeds, watered it, let the sun do what it do. And the objective was to reap or get real tomatoes in return, real bell peppers in return, real jalapenos in return, real cherry tomatoes, or whatever else I said. So those are the 5 things that we grew. So that answers 2 things. That's about what sowing means. That's really the plant, right? Scripture says one man plants, one waters, and then God gets the increase, right? But that's on a spiritual seed that's being sown. That's when you're witnessing and bringing people to Christ, etc., etc. But there's other seeds you can sow. There's seeds of discord, murderous seeds, adulterous seeds, sexual seeds, perversion. And all of these seeds, they all bring forth fruit. Because they're going to bring forth the fruit, the vegetable that you planted. If you're going around stealing, robbing, jacking, you probably going to get jacked. So in regular society, what do we say about that? Some folks call it karma. I think that comes from Eastern Asia. Other people say, you know, they'll quote the scripture, do unto others as you have them do unto you. Other folks say what goes around comes around. You understand what I'm saying? But either way, I'm saying there's an environment that was fostered, created. There's some seeds that were sown. There's some seeds that were planted and watered. And the sun did what it did. And then you got what you got. I legitimately think that P Diddy, no Diddy, got all the fame, got all the wealth, man. Any car he can buy, multiple houses, bad women everywhere. And he just got drunk. Not with wine or liquor. He got drunk with his own success. Rubbing hands with those rich and famous people with different perversions. And they took him to parties. And they quote unquote groomed him. That's what I believe. Because what you're seeing with P Diddy is similar to what you saw with R. Kelly, but these ain't the only ones. And it's not just black people that are going through this. Harvey Weinstein. Now, to my knowledge, that man still ain't been to trial, or it's not completed. You know, Young Thug will be sentenced and done, and that man still be on trial until he's dead. That's what I talked about when I say spiritual wickedness. So let me back up again to myself that I'm talking to. The top rich, the 1%, right? You remember that dude, Oliver Anthony? He was singing Rich Man in Richmond. This is what he was talking about, the 1%. It's easy to become perverse. It's easy to become corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolute. That's why you see it in government officials. That's why you see it in stars and rock stars. These people have been made gods on earth. By us, by you, idolaters. Because you like their music. You like how they dress. You like how they talk. You like that they get money and they can buy you. And so that's what I feel like what happened to him. I don't think this was something new. He probably been doing these perverse things now for 20 years. But I don't think he was doing them for 30 years. You understand what I'm saying? Now, as far as the allegations about his sexuality. These are all allegations. You know, I'm just going by what's going on. But he's been tried by a jury of social media, and he looks guilty based on what I've seen, right? And so I just wanted to put that out there and say there's little things that people do when they're quote unquote grooming you. And I'm gonna go into a story in a bit, but have you ever had the girl that you was dating, you know, when you're young, she pinched you first, right? She might hit your shoulder next and smile, and next she can kick the books out your hand, you know, but she's smiling every single time. And then y'all end up dating or something. What she was grooming you to do is accept her behavior, but accept that this was her way of showing her affection. I've seen, man, you know, I've seen in football. I played football, right? Not at a collegiate level, not at the NFL level, so don't assume that just because I'm big. But I played high school football. 9th grade year. We were coming back from Fort Worth, Texas, Myrtle Worth. We had played Trimble Tech, blew them out probably 36-0. And man, I hit a joker so hard, I knocked him onto the track. My partner that I'm gonna bring on here, OG Mank, touchdown, scored it. Kofa, Mark, he threw that. We did that, and that's how we ended the game. We ended the game in 5 seconds. But like I said, about 36-0, we beat Trimble Tech. On the way back, you know, we talking loud, dancing, laughing, whatever on the bus that you do when you cutting up, you know what I mean? But when we get back to Kimball and Oak Cliff, varsity played the same team, right? JV played the same team, but varsity's game was going to be that Saturday. But they heard about our winnings, right? They heard about what we did. And I walked through the doors, and me and several people, so not just me, but we walked through the doors of the gym in Kimball, because that's how you get to the locker room. There's a cage, then there's a shower over there, and the bathroom back there to the left. And other freshmen running around, some of them laughing, man, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me, man, chill out, man. Chill out. No, don't do me like that. And then one of the dudes that went to elementary school and middle school with me, he kind of know my background, man. He knew that, you know, I'm from that South Oak Cliff, moved to Central Oak Cliff, moved out Keys and Polk, and then moved to West Oak Cliff. But he knew that, you know, my family had a little bit of a name, you know. Not only am I the son of Larry The Mack James, but my dad was a martial arts and a boxer, man. And so he trained us since we were kids. And I'd had some notable and reputable fights at the time. But everybody don't know that. And let me set the room clear, man. I said there was seniors in there. I'm a freshman. Kimball is one of those schools that used to, and I don't know about now, they used to get top tier talent, TTT. People would move to the district just to play for Kimball. You've seen Kimball featured in that movie, Carter, because those were our immediate rivals. We had dudes that were 6'6". We had a dude at the school 7 foot tall. We had 6'5" dudes, 300 pounds, muscle. And I ain't joking, man. We had some big dudes. We had some scary looking dudes. And when you coming in from being a freshman, you know, a little freshman as they call you, I mean, you was just in elementary, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, 6th grade. So, you know, you got that little boy body, you know what I mean? Voice still ain't changed good. It's blinking and all that old kind of old stuff. So take you back to the present because I needed to set the stage. So we're walking through the doors. The dudes is giggling and running, but not giggling because they playing, they're giggling out of fear. You know how when them eyebrows go up? No, man, quit playing. Chill out, man. It wasn't out of, you know, man, let's play. We just play a football game. And then for those of you who don't know, Fort Worth about an hour from Dallas. So we done already played, we done had to travel there. We done had to travel back. It's late. Them big old dudes in there, man. So one dude that knew me from the neighborhood, like, as I was saying, he was like, "Hey, V, you got to get out of here, man. Man, you better hurry and run and get your stuff, man, and go to the car." He's like, "Man, they in here, boy. They taking boys' draws. They taking their draws, man. They ripping them. They just got such and such." And I don't remember who they got. Man, every hair on me probably stood up. And I probably gave him a look so cold. And I ain't on no tough stuff, but I'm just telling you, I gave him a look so cold. And I looked to make sure none of my close partners wasn't being ran down on. And then I just stood right in the middle. So I told you, you got the cage, then you got the regular, you got the weights, got the shower over here, and then you got the shower over to the left, and you got the weight room and the lockers. And I said, "Say, man." I always say, "Say, man." I don't know, it's just a habit. I said, "Say, man, if anybody touch my drawers or touch me in any way or tap me with a towel, man, my neighborhood gonna tear this thing up. And then my brother's gonna tear this thing up." And see, my brothers had a reputation. My brothers had a reputation. My brothers had a reputation. But everybody don't know them. And everybody don't care about them. You know, I had OG Pee Wee on the show, and he told you, he said, man, Oak Cliff was about 300,000 people. It's one of the largest hoods in Dallas. So when I say hood, I'm not talking about neighborhood. It got some rough spots and some rough folks, and we don't know each other. They don't know each other. It's just one of those places. When you collide, you collide. So everybody wasn't feeling that. See, the funny thing about Kimball or being in West Oak Cliff, Central Oak Cliff is the people from West Oak Cliff went to Kimball. But guess what they was? They was moving on up. They was moving on up from West Dallas. You know, Dewberry talked about West Dallas. I can vouch. West Dallas was one of the roughest of the toughest. And I got opinions on why it was one of the roughest of the toughest, and I'll share that a later day. But anytime you say West, people say, "Oh boy, the West." The West was like our South Bronx, if you travel a little bit. The West was like our South Central, if you travel a little bit. It was rough. And it had them little pockets where it's one way in, one way out. And I don't care if you're talking about Crosshampton, if you talk about Rupert Circle, whatever it is, and I ain't gonna go too much into the West, but it was some rough boys. And it was just made up of several groups of projects. Cross Westmoreland, Crosshampton. And then you had the houses. I mean, like them little shotgun houses. So it was some raw dudes out the West. How do I know? Because I went to the West Dallas Boys Club. A lot of them partners out the West were my partners that I got to know. And we'll tell some stories about that later. But they used to kick up dust, bro. And the West wasn't like any other, some of these parts. You know, there was not a lot of funding over there. It was just industrial buildings. You know, they didn't have a lot going on. And them boys will fight you for a penny. Them boys will fight you for a piece of carrot. You understand me? You know, I know they got this phrase in prison where you gonna fight or you gonna, $1.50 or whatever, or $60 or whatever it is. But in West Dallas, you gonna fight. You ain't got no choice. You ain't nowhere to run. You gonna fight. And so, but back to the story. So some of them boys from the West, when you in the West, most of them boys got a boxing game. That's what Dewberry known for. He didn't box, but everybody in the West got a damn boxing game. So when people, ask, "Hey, are you Golden Glove?" I don't think he went that route, but he got hands, bro. I've been hearing about it for years. So even when, anyway, I ain't gonna go into that. That's him. But he had hands. So a lot of them boys came from the West with hands. Them boys from South Oak Cliff, like me, them boys that came from Presidential, that came from Cavalry Arms, that came from Robin Village, was moving on up, right? To them, they was moving on up because, again, it was like different levels of success and different levels of poverty in certain neighborhoods. Don't mean the other ones was weak by any means. Kimball wasn't weak. The people that was in Central, they weren't weak, but we all collided. And then, at this time, I'm in Keystone Pope. Y'all don't probably heard of it. Mo3 put it on the map. It was rough. You know what I mean? I talk about that story. It was a rough spot, man. And so I don't care where you from. My point was where we were was rough. And so they didn't necessarily care, know, or even think about my brothers or my neighborhood. They was in there to take some draws. They was in there to haze some boys. They was in there to pop folks with the towel and spank their ass or stick their thumb up it. That's what they was doing, man. It's called a yeast or whatever you do. That's the stuff they was doing. That's what football players probably still do. I don't know. That's why I stopped. I don't like that kind of stuff. But anyway, I stood in the middle of that foyer and I said what I said. And I meant that. And I knew repercussions could come. I knew that, man, I'm probably, 130, 140 at the time. Probably too light to fight, too thin to win, but I got some stories, right? I done some things. I got some martial arts under me. I got some boxing under me. So I wasn't trying to crash out, but I'm saying we are men are adolescents, right? Why are we pulling each other's pants down and trying to rip somebody's drawers? This wasn't a Ouija. This is they're trying to rip your drawers through your butt, to make you bleed, embarrass you, humiliate you. And there was a culture that fostered that allowed that, and that must have been going on for many years. Because to those big guys and the people that, they were running around laughing as they humiliated these folks. And they thought it was strange when I stood my ground. And guess what? I didn't stand it by myself. I stood my ground by myself, right? But guess what? There was some people that knew me from different neighborhoods, because since I had lived on this side, that side, and that side, they were like, "No, that's Lil Vincent. No, just chill out, man. Leave him alone." You see what I'm saying? So I ain't saying I was the roughest or the toughest and they were, they're going to shiver. It wasn't that. But they didn't mess with me that day. The moral of that story is going to give me the two things. AC coming on again. One, there are seeds that were sown that created an environment where that type of hazing was okay. Need to mention, some of them ninth grade boys was crying. Some of them ninth grade boys I didn't really know. You see what I'm saying? But they wasn't built like that. Please leave me alone, man. Leave me. Embarrassed. They draws down. Boy pointing at their meat. You understand? Some of them couldn't stand their ground like me. Some of them didn't have the pedigree or the backing or the people that knew them. You understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes there's benefits to moving around a lot. And me and my family moved around a lot. So I knew people from different neighborhoods. I had partners that was 6'4", that knew me from other neighborhoods like that's Lil Vincent. I remember Lil Vincent. Or partners from Keys and Polk that were Bloods. And they were like, that's the homie. Because they remember we grew up together, bro. So they wasn't going to let nobody do nothing to me. You heard me? So what Diddy was dealing with is an environment where some seed has been sown and watered and the sun done its thing. And it finally bloomed. So if this girl that says she's been getting beat and all this treatment for 10 years, man, this been going on for a while. And the scripture do say what's done in the dark will come to the light. So all the things that we've been doing, it's going to eventually come out, right? Well, his came out. So that's all I'm going to say about, Diddy. Point two is I need y'all to understand that we have this phrase, right, that we call morality. And I'm going to try to walk you down the real morality. I'm not going to give you a definition. You hear it all the time. It's thrown around a lot. So I'll give you the definition that I abide by, right? That stays with me, and that's this. Morality to me is an unspoken word or phrase where two beasts, monsters, animals, humans have an unwritten set of guidelines that says live and let live. I'm gonna give you a quick example of that. It is one of those unhidden things that says provide mutual respect. If you step on my shoe, say excuse me. You understand what I'm saying? Don't pee on my lawn. You understand what I'm saying? Don't walk up and grab my girl's ass. Does it make sense? Don't cuss in front of my mama and not say excuse. You understand what I'm saying? Don't talk bad about my mama, about my old bird, about my T. Jones. You understand what I'm saying? Unless we got a great relationship and we used to play the dozens. But, mamas was off limits where I'm from. Don't call me no bitch or hoe. I understand that, man, with the younger generation and some of the older guys, some of the homies, some of the OGs, done went down to the penitentiary and came home, and now they do it. They play them bitch games. But when I was growing up in Oak Cliff, all sides, we didn't do that. We didn't call each other bitches and hoes, and I'm talking about as men. We didn't do that. Matter of fact, you did it, right? You would do it, but that means it was a piece of aggression. You really were trying to pull somebody's card. You really were trying to call somebody out. You really were trying to check somebody, bring them to the square, as we used to say. You know what I mean? Bitch, you know what I mean? But now it's, what's up, bitch? I mean, whatever. That, maybe that's Louisiana, that's Baton Rouge. We hadn't been doing that. Now this is new to me within the last 10 years. So pardon me if I don't do it, but yeah, I got partners that do that kind of stuff. But we didn't play those games. So part of morality is an unspoken set of rules so that we can coexist. Let me give you a perfect example. If I get it wrong, sorry. I've traveled a lot, but not been to Africa. I haven't been to Africa. But when you talk about the savannah, I want you to think about the fact that there can be gazelles there, there can be lions there, hyenas there, different types of birds. Can't think of some of those deer-looking things, but whatever they are. When those animals need water, they all must go to the same place, right? Might be gators in that water. There is a mutual, unspoken agreement that, hey, I'm gonna let you feed, I'm gonna let you get your water, I'm gonna let you get your, but when we leave here, it's up. We back at predator and prey, right? That's why when you're walking on the sidewalk, a person gives you the lane and vice versa, right? And anything outside of that, you consider rude. Or that's why we got this saying, man, stay in your lane, bro. Now, you need to stay in your lane, man. It means live and let live. Tell you something my daddy used to tell me. He said, boy, he said, man, when it comes to confrontation or whatever you got going on, he said, you just got to be a monster when you confront it. He says, you ain't never heard about no bear and a lion getting into it. Bear and a gorilla. I mean, you name the animals, right? And some of them don't even, access the same parts of land. But you understand what I'm saying? They have a mutual understanding that I can unlife you or you can unlife me. So maybe we can prevent this wreck. You do your thing, I'm gonna do mine. And like MJG them said, you gonna do your thing, I'm gonna do mine. That's my definition. Sorry. It happens on live. That's my definition of morality. Now, when people begin to cross those lines, cross on your side of the sidewalk, leave trash in the yard, breaking in your house, stealing from you, you understand what I'm saying? Overtly going after your woman in front of you, that's when lines get crossed. That's when morality is at its brink. But there's also something called sexual immorality or morality. There are lines, right? Some countries, some places, they even, in Sweden, I've been there many times, they even, were proposing legislation that before you, went on your date, Your young lady had to sign and you had to sign that, it's consensual if we do partake uh, in anything sexual tonight, right? Because of these, Jeffrey Weinstein, P Diddy kind of stuff, they wanted to make sure it wasn't no dropping drug. It wasn't no date rape. It wasn't none of that. So they were trying to get ahead of it. When people have crossed those lines, blurred those lines of morality and sexual immorality, they become dangerous, dogmatic, unpredictable. Some people are animal lovers. I've had many animals. I like my dogs, all that. Even had cats at one point. I don't have animals anymore. But the reason that some people don't like animals and some do is because sometimes a dog will look in your eye and you don't understand what's on his mind, right? Other times a dog will come to you wagging his tail with glee, shaking his head from side to side. You think you know what's on his mind. So one dog you think is a loving, peaceful dog. The other dog is looking at you with animalistic eyes reminiscent of Mike Tyson. You understand what I'm saying? When you cross that boundary of morality and immorality, you become unpredictable. People don't understand, man. I don't know what's up with homeboy. Sometimes you can cross those boundaries by lying, compulsive lying, making up stories, pretending you gangster, pulling out guns for no reason, busting at cats for no reason, being overly aggressive. I mean, there's many ways to cross those lines, but when people can no longer understand and process your intentions or your intent, now you start putting people on the defensive or sometimes on the offensive. So I say this to say, well, I got one viewer, 2, 10, 100, 3,000, a million. Let's speak a million. You're really not going to see me get on here and talk bad about nobody. I broke down the P Diddy thing and I tried to be impartial when doing so. Just dealing with facts from Lil Rodney or Lil Rob, whatever the dude was talking about, because I think Candace Owens did a good job breaking it down. You're not going to see me cross moral boundaries. I'm going to give you your space. Please give me mine. You're not going to see me threaten you. I ain't beating you up. I ain't gonna come outside or whatever we talking about. Man, I'm a grown man, with a whole family. So that ain't for me either. But the purpose of living testimony and some of the things that I am about to bring you is, man, to also put the mirror up to us, to sometimes show our progress through pain, to show our shame, but how we are able to be triumphant, how we're able to overcome obstacles. But when I'm doing some of these lives, I'm gonna have some interviews. I'm gonna have some interviews with some real stomp down guys, like I have. But I'm gonna have some lighter ones. All I want to do is extract stories and give you an opportunity and the viewer opportunity to tell your story, man, so it can help somebody. I'm gonna break down some topics, but I ain't gonna break them down like others, TTE Naughty, you may see me post him a bit. I post him a bit because I know him. So I want to say that I know him. And I won't talk about whatever I've ever talked about with him. Now, we ain't grow up together. We ain't out the mud together. We did some business together, but there was a form of mutual respect. And we talked about doing more business. But things kind of happen for a reason. Matter of fact, I had even reached out to Pop Austin before he swirled all the way, down. And I had a mind And I was thinking, I know how to rebuild this because I told you I've been in business for a while now. So there's some things I've learned around I got some tricks and trades about some things. So I figured that we could build it. And they did reach back out to me, but I ain't heard from them since South by Southwest. So you know what I decided? Me, OG Man, Hustlers Grind, FMG, the family. Just said, I'm going to get it out the mud. I'm just going to do it myself. And then in the future, if they want to holler, we can holler. But I was trying to help, man. And you might see me pull some funniness out sometimes. That's part of my personality. So you see this part, right? So part of me, and this is the dichotomy, I got to separate from the business me. I got to separate from the world traveling me. And then I kind of go back a little bit to the old Cliffian me, but not 100%. You know what I mean? Because it's been a minute. Because I'm just trying to communicate to you, and I'm trying to be as authentic as I can, not fake, because I don't do fake. And bring y'all some good content, man. Bring y'all some things that y'all gonna appreciate. And I'm gonna share some stories with you. I'm gonna have some people on, and we're gonna do all of that. But I need you to like, subscribe, and continue to grow the channel. And I promise, those that start rocking with me now, those that's rocking with me from the infancy, man, we're gonna ride out. See, I like what Wack 100 did with that boy T Money. I don't know how long T Money been rocking with Wack, but he tried to hold him down, man. And I ain't got no opinions on Wack, but he tried to hold him down, tried to put him in position, and maybe that worked, I'm not sure. But that's the kind of dude I am, though. Like, you rock with me from the beginning, I'm gonna rock with you, man. Solid like a rock, you heard me? So, let's rock this thing out, man. Pathesthadred. I'm trying to figure out how to bring OG Man on here. I got some other OG partners that I'm gonna bring on here. We're gonna tell the side of the cliff that y'all probably don't hear about. We're gonna talk about some story that y'all probably don't hear about. And believe me, we connected with a lot of this stuff. But a lot of the OGs, a lot of the partners been silent. And quite frankly, a lot of them dead, man. I lost a lot of partners in the last 2-3 years. So a lot of them dead. So to me, it's important to get these stories out. The guys that have been to the penitentiary, they're going to tell some of the penitentiary stories. People like me, I've been in business, I've traveled, I've worked, music, did all of that. But I've had an active life. And so you're going to hear some more of that. But anyway, man, just wanted to tell you that when we say you reap what you sow, it's what you're growing. And if Diddy grew into something, then there was some seed sown, man. And what he has is his tree, right? His fruit. And so if that can be a lesson to anybody, and it could be a lesson to me, and it could be a lesson to you, and it could be a lesson to the young boys that's out here talking about switches and stitches and ops. Man, you ain't got no ops. Just because his mother couldn't afford to move him to another street, that's your op? What? Because he made an Instagram post that said he ain't like your shoes, that's your op? Why? What'd he do to you? What'd he do to you? What'd she do to you? You ain't got no op, man. Y'all making ops. I know Dirty Dollars is deadly. You heard me? I'm from there. I see what they doing, but man, you ain't got no ops. See, what it is y'all afraid to let this thing play out. You're afraid to let this thing play out, man. Check me out. You're afraid to see what it feel like to get 50. You're afraid to have to work, to have to raise your kid, change some diapers. You're afraid to have to woo a woman. So instead, what? They give you a whole bunch of guns and you just spray them and you picking ops. What? Because that one lived 2 streets over. Man, he can't buy no house. He can't buy an apartment. He your age. He ain't got 2 nickels to rub together. And then we hear these stories about them boys going down there and getting turned out, getting raped, getting stabbed, or turning into killers. Like everybody young and violent don't get took. I got partners still down there that have been gone 33 years. I got partners doing life and ain't never coming home. And I got partners that have been killed down there. So that's why I want to tell living testimonies, man. It's not about what we go through. It's what we share after we went through them and while we're going through them. Was it Job? Job said, though you slay me, yet will I trust him. I'm not going to go into the story of Job, but if you can bring Job, you can turn Job into a movie right now. Lost all his kids. You can turn it into a movie right now. Lost his finances. You can turn it into a movie now. Lost his wife. His health. You can turn it into a movie now. That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the Job stories. I'm trying to let you speak. Look, I done been threatened. I done had folks say they're going to do something to me. Man, let's hear. The one thing I ain't worried about is that. And that ain't no tough stuff. Man, I'm protected by the Most High. And when it's time for me to go, I will go. You know how many people done tried to whack me, man? You know I've been hearing this my whole life. So for me to get in front of the camera, and I'm not a camera dude. Anybody that know me know that. I'm behind the scenes. But man, somebody got to reach out. How can they hear without a preacher? How can he preach unless he be sent? So yeah, if Charleston White is making y'all hear him, he's sent. Maybe sometimes he got to tweak his message, but either way, he's sent. Why do I say that? Because the scripture says that God will take the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And let me just break that down if you care to hear. You may have all of these people going to quote unquote synagogue, church, whatever you want to name it, right? Wasn't that the same in the days of Yeshua, Jesus? Wasn't that the same? When he said he came to heal the sick, wasn't it the same? Wasn't it that the church people gathered together, synagogue people gathered together, telling him which sin he was committing? Why are you over there with that prostitute? Why are you healing that man over there? And he was holding a mirror to their face. Oh man, I want to divorce my wife. I want to do this. Haven't you heard? He who without sin cast the first stone. I mean, he was constantly checking them. But they knew the scriptures. They knew the Torah. They knew what days to celebrate. They knew the holy look and the button up, and they knew the hymn and the song or whatever. It's time out for that, man. And so the Lord told me a long time ago, man, I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, that I was going to be heard by many. And all that time, man, I thought it was going to be because I was rapping. And this is even before I started rapping. And I just think that he been waiting until an appointed time. I don't know. But when it's time to be obedient, you be obedient. You know, I done already been talked about. I done been laughed at. I done been set up. You heard me? I done been laid off. Ain't nothing else to hide from. I done lost everything I done had, and I done got it back tenfold. And I done lost it again. Ain't nothing to lie about, man. So I want the real to tap in with me. I'm going to tap in with the real. We will recognize each other. And it won't be on no gang stuff. It won't be on no, man, just because we can go out there and fight folks and shoot folks. That ain't that, man. If somebody who says they stand for something ain't going to speak up, then who going to stand for God? Who going to speak up for Yahweh? Who going to speak up for the Most High? How can they hear without a preacher? And how can he preach unless he be sent? If we don't say something, then the same seeds that were planted and watered and the sun shone on them, those same seeds are going to negatively impact some more youth. And they're going to impact my grandson's days and my sons and my daughters and so forth and so on. So somebody got to speak against it, right? Didn't somebody finally stand up to speak against slavery, speak against apartheid, to speak, to give women's rights? Somebody got to stand up. And it's always, like a voice crying in the wilderness. Ain't that what they called John? John the Baptist, they said he was a voice crying in the wilderness. He was speaking up. So maybe Charleston is that voice crying in the wilderness. And maybe he getting a bag along the way. Maybe he getting a bag along the way. So for me, that's all I'm going to have to say about it, man. If you missed this live, hopefully you catch me next time. If you don't catch me next time, you'll catch me the next time. If you don't catch me the next time, you'll catch me the next time. Because I ain't going to stop. I ain't going to stop. And I pray that this be multiplied tenfold, 100-fold. Share with your friends. And we're going to break down and bring you some entertainment and some content. Shoot me some topics. Shoot me some stuff that you want my opinion on, and I'll share it. I ain't afraid, man. I don't have nothing to be scared of, man. I done the whole corporate thing. I done the executive thing. I done all that stuff. I done hid. I done listen. I done had people say, take down your YouTube. Turn this off. I done all that. I stopped doing music. I did everything to make sure that I raised my family. And now, man, I got to go for what I know because, listen, we only promised 72 years. And I'm getting older. You hear me? So, man, it's been Pathesthadred, man. I'm gonna link up with OG Mate. Somebody tell me how to add folks to this live. If not, I'm gonna have to figure out another platform. But tell me how to do it, and then I'm gonna start adding some folks. But man, last week I tried with my microphone and a computer. I think that the phone thing might be best. But that's all I got for you. KK, turn it off. But that's all I got for you. I'm out. I can't turn it off, and it's still live. So stop talking and turn it off. Cheers, y'all.
Yeah.
Is it off?
Wait. God, patience.
Okay, so you said it on camera. Cheers. Is it off?